I came to TLC after leaving a relationship where I was mentally, verbally, emotionally, and one night physically abused. In front of my son, a man who was supposed to love me punched me several times, and when I fell to the floor, he kicked me in my side over and over again, enough times to break my ribs. I left the relationship and our home for the safety of myself and my son. I was staying with one friend, then the next friend, sleeping on couches, our belongings in bags. I had called several programs, trying to find somewhere for my son and I to have stability and begin rebuilding our lives. Each program I called told me I did not qualify because my son was over the age of 9. All of these programs that I was calling did not allow boys over the age of 9. I was having door after door slammed in my face. I felt like I was being beaten all over again. Each day I was going through the motions of the day. I wasn't sleeping or eating. I was constantly crying. My son was so worried about me, worried that I would be harmed again, worried from all the crying I was doing, worried about what was going to happen with us. He was not behaving like a child. He was behaving like an adult, trying to protect and comfort me. A longtime friend of mine suggested that I call TLC. She had once been a resident there and kept telling me that they would help me. But at that point, from so many rejections, I just couldn't take another rejection. My friend was persistent. She kept at me to call TLC. So one day while at work, I did. I called, and the first thing I asked was, do you accept boys over the age of 9? The lady on the phone, who I now know was Maggie, said to me, yes. And I said to her, so you're telling me my son can stay there with me? And she kind of chuckled and said, of course. She took my name and told me when to come in for an orientation. I was nervous and very emotional when I arrived for orientation. Doug came over to speak with me, and I could not even respond. All I could do was sit there and cry. He took me out in the hall so we could speak privately, and I briefly told him what had happened and what I had been going through. He looked at me with such compassion in his eyes. I will never forget the way he looked at me. And he told me to give him a few days and he would get me in. I left there for the first time in weeks with some hope. A few days later, I received a life-changing phone call. Carissa called and asked if I was still interested. I told her yes, and she said to me in the sweetest, cheerful voice, we have a room for you today. After getting off the phone with her, I cried, but this time I was not just crying because of what had happened to me and my son. I was crying because I was overjoyed that finally Darian and I had a place to begin starting over. I could now begin to focus on healing, but I was still scared. My son was full of many questions, and both of us were trying to trust that everything was going to be okay. By the end of our first week at TLC, I was beginning to smile, beginning to laugh, and Darian was starting to be a child again. We were both feeling at peace and safe. The staff at TLC were doing everything they could to make us feel welcome, secure, give us support and love, reaching out to meet our needs in every way they could. Every time I went past by Doug or Carissa, I was asked if everything was okay or if I needed anything. I began to get to know other residents, people from all types of backgrounds, of all ages, each who had overcome struggles, and just like the staff, the residents were pulling Darian and I into their community. More and more, I was watching my son become himself again, enjoying evenings in the family room with other children. Children younger than him looking up to him, greeting him with hugs as he would walk in the door. My son was smiling again, he was happy again. He was Darian, my son, fun-loving son was back. At this time, I'd like to take a minute and give my son the opportunity to tell you a few of his experiences there.
TLC is where I call home. There is a homework club after school where I can have fun, where I can have time to work on my homework and get help with my homework. I can also help the younger kids with their homework or read to the younger children. I like being able to help. I like that the younger kids look at me as a big brother. I like to teach them and play with them. Everyone at TLC is so nice to my mom and me. Volunteers come and play games with us. They take us to the park There is a pottery class my mom and me go to at TLC. Sometimes we make things together. I was able to go to Camp Sharon 2 times this summer for a week each time because the staff at TLC set it up for me. They even drove me and picked me up. I like living at TLC. It makes me happy, and my mom too.
I have built some amazing friendships that I will have with me for the rest of my life. I have never experienced so many people coming together and lending a hand to each other. In the evening, when I get off work, I'm excited to go home. Yes, home. TLC is not a program. It's home. It's my safe place. It's where my family is waiting for me. TLC is where I can always find a shoulder to cry on, someone to listen to how my day was, good or bad, a hug when needed, someone to guide me in the right direction when I'm just not sure what to do, someone to share in my laughter, someone to always let me know that I matter and they care. I'm not a victim. I'm not a statistic. I'm just like everyone else. I'm Crystal, a woman with a college education and a full-time job. I have an amazing son, and we have been blessed to live in an amazing community surrounded by the most amazing people with a strong, loving support system in my corner, cheering me on as my journey through life continues. Thank you.